Ave coders, Python, the language absolutely everyone writes today, from a kid in a coding club to the neural nets that keep threatening to replace you. And it looks deceptively simple. You type almost like you're writing English, and it just runs. No semicolons, no curly braces, none of the usual ceremony. And here's the payoff of that simplicity. For years now, Python has sat comfortably on top of the popularity charts, shoving aside old-timers like Java and C. Today, people write everything in it: backends, neural nets, scrapers, bots, and scripts. Anything to avoid doing the boring parts by hand. The Swiss Army knife of modern programming. But where did this snake come from? The one that slithered into literally every field. Spoiler, the snake has nothing to do with it. This friendly Dutchman is Guido van Rossum. Back in '91, bored over the Christmas holidays, he built a language and named it after Monty Python. Yes, the comedy troupe, not the snake. Since then, the language came a long way. There was an agonizing split between version 2 and version 3 that dragged on for over a decade. But in 2020, they finally buried Python 2 and everyone exhaled. And here's its official home, python.org. Notice, right on the front page, you can poke at code in the browser without installing a thing. Hospitable. At the heart of the language is a cult of readability. Code should be clear to a human, not just a machine. And to get there, Python did one scandalous thing. Meet the biggest holy war. In Python, indentation isn't decoration, it's syntax. Shift a block with spaces, and that is the nesting, not a single curly brace. Which is why the sacred war of tabs versus spaces in the Python world is not a joke, it's life and death. One space in the wrong place and the whole thing falls apart. Next up, dynamic typing. You don't declare types. Put a number in a variable, then a string. Python won't even blink. Convenient until it shoots you in the foot. This is called duck typing. If something quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, then to Python, it is a duck. It doesn't care about the type. It cares about what the object can do. And here's what people adore Python for: list comprehensions. What takes a 5-line loop in other languages fits into one elegant line here. Pythonic looks like this. And the cherry on top, fef strings. Just put an F before the quotes and drop variables straight into the text inside curly braces. No fiddling with concatenation and plus signs. It reads like a normal sentence. The language even ships with its own philosophy baked right in. Type import this and Python hands you its zen. Beautiful is better than ugly, simple is better than complex. A manifesto for every day. Once you've tasted comprehensions and f-strings, going back to verbose languages feels like the Stone Age. It spoils you instantly and you won't want to go back. To actually do anything, you need data structures. And Python has 4 pillars that cover 90% of your problems. A list, ordered and mutable. A dict, key value pairs, your main workhorse. A set, only unique items. A tuple, a list you're not allowed to touch. And the dict is the very heart of Python. Under the hood, half the language itself is built on structs. Lookup by key is instant and the syntax is pleasant. And you can slice lists like a sausage. A colon inside square brackets and you grab any chunk, reverse the whole list, or take every second element. Slicing is its own kind of joy. And unpacking, which you can never wean yourself off. One line scatters a list across variables or swaps 2 things with no temporary variable at all. In other languages, people sell their soul for this. Looping over a list with indices? Enumerate. Walking 2 lists at once? Zip. Python seems to have pre-packed a tidy answer to every dreary loop you were about to write. But Python's real superpower isn't the language itself. It's the giant mountain of ready-made libraries for every whim. This warehouse is called PyPI. Look at the number, almost 1 million packages. Whatever you're cooking up, someone has almost certainly already written a library for it. Any of them installs with a single command via pip. Want to poke at websites? Install requests. And just like that, you're pulling the internet in 3 lines. Here's what that looks like. Import the library. Hit an address, get JSON back. The wall of code other languages need for this is 3 lines here. But there's an important ritual beginners skip and then cry about. For every project, spin up a separate virtual environment so the packages don't brawl with each other. 2 commands and you're tidy. Whoever installs packages globally without a venv will one day watch one project break another, and dependency hell begins. Don't be that guy. And it's precisely because of that mountain of libraries that Python crawled in everywhere. Let's tour its territories. Web on Django and Fast API, data analysis on pandas, automating your chores with scripts, and the crown, machine learning, where Python has almost no rivals. That's where it truly rules. Want your own web server? On Fast API, it's a couple of lines. A decorator hangs a function on an address, and you've already got an API handing JSON to anyone who asks. A backend in a minute. Python is also the king of boring chores. Need to rename 1,000 files or sort chaos into folders? 10 lines of script instead of an hour of clicking. That's what sysadmins love it for. But Python's main throne is artificial intelligence. All of modern AI, PyTorch and TensorFlow, speaks exactly this language. Want to train neural nets? Welcome. There are barely any other doors. And again, it's deceptively simple. A couple of lines of PyTorch and you've got a neural network layer. All the heavy math is hidden under the hood while you write what looks like pseudocode. Data scientists love Python not because it's fast. They love it because you can sketch a working prototype over lunch without putting down your sandwich. But not everything is sweet, my furry friend. This snake has a couple of venomous fangs that cheerful coursers forget to mention. First and foremost, Python is slow. It's interpreted, so on raw number crunching, it loses to C by tens of times. What saves it is that the heavy libraries aren't written in Python at all. The second name for pain is the GIL, the Global Interpreter Lock. Because of it, honest multithreading in Python barely works. Threads fight over one lock and stand in line. And a sneaky classic for newcomers, a mutable default argument. An empty list in the default lives between calls and hoards garbage. People go gray over this for generations. Another classic trap. Comparison. Double equals checks that values are equal, while the word is checks it's literally the same object in memory. Mix them up, and debugging turns into a detective novel. And remember that great 10-year schism? This is the kind of nonsense the world split over. In 2, print was a statement. In 3, it became a normal function, a drop that sank a fleet. So yes, Python is slow and quirky in places. But while you're shipping working code twice as fast as the guy next to you suffering in C++, somehow you just don't care. So should you even learn Python in an era when neural nets crank out code by the bucket? Short answer, yes. And here are 4 ironclad reasons. It's simple to start, in demand on the market like oxygen. It lives literally everywhere, and it's wrapped in a giant community. Stuck? You Google it, and the answer was written before you were born. And there are so many jobs that knowing Python long ago became a passport into the industry. From backend to data science, the demand stays steady, and the salaries, pleasantly, keep up. And the cherry, whatever breaks for you, some poor soul already hit the exact same error on Stack Overflow back in 2012. You copy the fix and make a clever face. Enough theory, let's get practical. How to touch Python right now without leaving your chair or breaking your system. Install Python from the official site, check the version, and run your file with a single command. That's it. You're a programmer, you can put it on your resume. There's also a mode where Python answers instantly, the REPL. Run the bare command, type a line, hit enter, and see the result right away. Perfect for quickly testing an idea. Then the golden rule. Every project lives in its own virtual environment. Create a venv, activate it, install your libraries with pip, and projects stop fighting over versions. It'll save you a ton of nerves. And that's where the addiction kicks in. There's a ready package for any task. So you keep typing pip install something until your project folder swells to the size of a galaxy. Let's wrap up. Python isn't the fastest language on the planet, but it's arguably the most productive. The perfect first language and a Swiss Army knife for your whole career. So if you're not writing Python yet, now's the time to start before the snake slithers into your field too. And if this video landed, well, you know what to do. Smash that imperial thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell.